Well then, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. Hope you all had a phenomenal day. Things going well for you. This is what we got going on tonight. First and foremost, we have a goal, which we usually have. It's our regular standard fare goal. That is specifically 15 or more super chats of $10 or more. Then tonight's goal will basically be we'll have 30-minute call-in show. I'm also really thinking about transitioning over to members only. No jokes about transitioning. You knew what I was saying. And speaking of which, one of tonight's topics is that our trans folk have been kept out of the military courtesy of a circuit court decision from the Ninth Circuit. That's right, the left coast, west coast, craziest coast of the coasts. And trust me, both coasts are kind of crazy, but the left coast is the crazier of the two crazies. That they have decided, hey, we don't care. We're going to allow Trump for now, at least for now. That's an important caveat. It is just for now, but for now, that he's allowed to keep the trans out of the military, according to even the leftiest of the leftiest. So that's part of what we're going to be covering tonight. We're also covering that the cartel-loving Democrats have decided we had enough. We need to get access to see documents, to see the entire legal memo of what Secretary of War, we want to call him Secretary of Defense, but he's actually technically Secretary of War, what he was mulling and contemplating over when he issued those drone strikes. We need to know. We got to know. Why? I don't know. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and also a recent government report which exposed billions and billions of dollars worth of Obamacare fraud. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that that sanctity of Obamacare could ever be breached with fraud? Not just a little, no, billions and billions. We're talking in excess of $20 billion in just 1 year. Just 1 year. Over $20 billion worth of fraud. All that and more coming up in tonight's show. If you stick with us, if you're here and you like the content, I'd be much obliged if you can hit the like and subscribe buttons, because those buttons are buttons which they're good buttons. They're healthy buttons. They're buttons that are they make you feel good about yourself. How often can you hit a button and say, you know what? I feel good about me. But that's one thing you could do. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you're watching after the show, you have a comment, I'd appreciate if you could drop that comment. I do try to check them out and appreciate your feedback. If it's positive, awesome. If it's negative, sometimes it makes me think. Sometimes it makes me laugh. Sometimes I just shake my head and say, I don't even know what the heck they're thinking. But I probably will be thinking. There's going to be some thought that's going to go through there. So make sure you drop a comment after this show. That's the game plan for tonight. But we should start off tonight, I guess. Which story should we start with? Which story? I'm torn. Got a few other little side things that I was thinking about covering tonight. Let's start with a little side note. Before we get into that, because I like to sort of meander away from our main topic stories and bring in other side notes. And I'm going to tell you something I want to share with you all before we get into our main stories, and trust me, we will. But I want to cover with you something that I think is a really interesting conversation, a snippet from a conversation from two of the most interesting lunatics in the world, that being Gavin Newsom and Tim Walz. This is an interesting exchange about masculinity from the two masters of masculinity themselves, Gavin Newsom. So I wanted to share this exchange with you and give you some of my thoughts about what I take from this whole thing here. because I think this is interesting. So check it out.
But I think this notion of toxicity in masculinity needs to be separated. And I think it's been conflated. And I think we're going to have to work on that a little bit. And I think there is a crisis.
I think some of us scare them.
No man has ever talked about masculinity while going like this. I'm just going to point that out. No one. That's never. He breached brand new masculine territory there. Oh God, Gavin.
I think I scare them a little bit why they spend so much time on it.
Yes, you scare us, not because of masculinity. That's the last thing that you're scaring about us. It's not your, trust me, that's not. There's a lot of things about you that scare me. I'm telling you right now, my heart of hearts, I really believe that he's been part of some sort of cult group type of thing that tortures weak, helpless, I'm not sure, children or animals. That's my personal opinion about Tim Walz. I think that it is a psycho element to this guy. There is. That's just my personal opinion. That's just my thought. I think he's a psycho. So he does scare me, but not because of any of the things he's about to enumerate.
I'm serious because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting on this. Yeah. I'm not putting this in people's grill. I don't know if my identity is not hunting. My identity is not football coaching.
It was your identity when you were running for vice president. You were talking about, I'm such a big hunter. Oh, the football coach is here. That was your identity. That was the selling point. There was no other selling point. The whole point, my identity is not a football coach. How many stupid, idiotic pundits from the left were referring to him as football coach, Coach Walz, Coach Walz? Please, my identity. You were hawking that and shilling that and selling it out everywhere while you're doing your crazy Richard Simmons let's go kind of weirdo type of thing. Yeah.
My identity is not, a beard and a truck.
But I think this notion of, it's
okay. So that's him. That's what I think is to me that was most interesting about this clip. And the reason I wanted to share this with you is because one of the things that he starts here in the most effeminate way possible to talk about masculinity, Gavin Newsom, the first words that he's saying here is something that I find very interesting.
This notion of toxicity in masculinity needs to be separated. And I think it's been conflated.
And what he's basically trying to recognize here for the first time in leftist history is that they've been killing masculinity. And it's kind of a really, really bad thing for society that they've been doing this because their messaging is what gets through loud and clear to today's youth. Their messaging is far more direct, and their access to influencing our youth is far, far more direct than conservative perspectives. And this is really essential because it's during their formative years when you have some youngin who's being raised, unfortunately, all too often in a single parent environment. So they're being raised far too much by the state. And accordingly, they have far too much influence about what is a healthy mindset, what's a healthy perspective from my assessment of myself and of others. And one of the things that they've been killing is masculinity as being toxic, where they refer to toxic masculinity. But when if you just think about that phrase for a moment, it actually implies you can understand that phrase, and you're not misunderstanding the English language if you understand the phrase toxic masculinity as if the toxic is an adjective to the word masculinity. Meaning, when you take two words and you throw them together, you can say that masculinity, you can say that there's such a thing as an entity called toxic masculinity. So there's regular masculinity, and then there is toxic masculinity. So in that sense, it's a qualifier on a type of masculinity. Or you can refer to masculinity as inherently toxic, that all masculinity is toxic. And both ways of referring to that in the English language would be saying toxic masculinity. You can send, and one is purportedly trying to differentiate between healthy masculinity and the toxic variant thereof, and the other is just labeling all masculinity toxic. It's masculinity, therefore it's toxic. And we want to remind you and drum it over your head, all masculinity is toxic, so we're just going to refer to masculinity always as toxic masculinity. That is what the left has been purveying to our youth for decades now, for a very long time. That masculinity is toxic, inherently bad, evil. That's what they've been trying to sell to our youth. Then they have young women growing up and they're like, where are all the real men? We don't see any real men. I don't understand. Why is it that, like, people don't seem to have, any sort of inner fortitude? Why is it that young men don't have confidence? Why do they all seem depressed all the time? Well, because you've been telling them that they should be eating away at their own masculinity, shielding and shying away their masculinity to the degree that they're almost embarrassed that their natural masculinity, they self-emasculate in order to not be shunned by the herd. So then you're wondering, well, where are they all? Well, you scared the hell out of them when you were raising them from being young boys into being young men. So of course they're not. Of course they're few and far between. If you're a genuinely masculine young man today, you have your pick of the litter because you beat the system. You show natural selection abilities that far outshine your peers because most people in your circumstance had drilled into them. You damn well better not ever show any masculinity, otherwise society is going to hate you. And you basically said, I don't trust that. I don't believe that. I don't care. I'm going to be who I am. And good on you for that. Good on you for that, because far too many of your peers have basically been like, I'm a good person. I'm not masculine. I'm a good person. So now this is, while it's coming from the snake oil salesman over here in Gavin Newsom, where he's basically saying we need to start differentiating between masculinity and toxic masculinity and make it clear that there is healthy forms of masculinity. That's a very positive thing. Not that it's a reflection or anything positive about him, because he's all political. He's all about, he's as ambitious as Cassius. And you can go check out that Shakespearean reference. He is a thoroughly ambitious man. And whatever he's saying, he thinks that it is purely helping his political prestige in doing that. So this is his new pitch. I'm simply saying that I can recognize that even if he's motivated by his evil ulterior motives, which he is because he's Gavin Newsom, I can still recognize that this type of messaging does bode well for the future. Because if they're at least starting to recognize the value, significance, and importance of encouraging young boys to grow into being genuinely masculine males, and while not having toxic masculinity, that is a positive thing, because they do have such a formidable death grip on our education system. They have such a formidable stranglehold on our culture. I mean, the whether it's coming out of Hollywood or it's coming out of Silicon Valley, it doesn't matter. They have such a significant influence on our culture and how our children are raised, that the idea of reinstituting masculinity is highly significant. I want to pause and just say that he's wrong, because there's absolutely no such thing, and there never has been any such thing as toxic masculinity. I've said this many times before. I will likely say it many times again. Masculinity is inherently a positive trait. Certainly when it's being displayed by young men, it is inherently a positive trait. It is not the opposite of femininity. That is a gross mistake. What they refer to as toxic masculinity is behavior like bullying or narcissism, things of that nature that they label toxic masculinity. But bullying is not masculine. Being a narcissist is not masculine. Those are signs of insecurity. The reason someone bullies, or the reason someone feels like someone acts like a narcissist and has self-involvement is because they are insufficiently masculine. The left has bastardized the term masculinity to incorporate that as part of its umbrella, to say that masculinity is toxic for their own nefarious ends, and that's been going on for a very long time. So at the very least, even though they're going to still continue and they will stay married to the notion that there is such a thing as toxic masculinity, married to that lie, the reality is that as long as they're helping pitch the notion, bad labels, mislabeling aside, as long as they're helping pitch the notion that masculinity is a positive thing, this is a very good thing for our society. Even though I can't stand these people, even though I think they're evil, I know that they're evil. I know that I personally don't trust or believe anything that either of these two shysters ever say. But I am not the mindset of some 17-year-old kid. I'm not the mindset of somebody living on the left coast. I don't have that crazy liberal mindset. And we do, unless you're advocating for civil war, which I know many of you would. I doubt you're ever going to hear me advocate for anything of the kind. But unless you're advocating for that, you have to recognize these people are going to be around us in society for the foreseeable future, if not far longer than that. So that being the case, if they are actually of a healthy mindset, a masculine mindset, a truly masculine and confident mindset, they're more likely to be thinking for themselves. They're more likely to actually be productive members of society. They're more likely to be beneficial partners in this culture that we call America. So they're more likely to actually stand up and take a healthy stand and think for themselves. One of the reasons that the left has stripped away at the term masculinity is because they wanted to turn young men into mindless drones. And if you have the audacity to stand up and speak out against something, well, that's just your masculinity that's just spewing all over the room in a way that they're going to claim is nauseous. But so that's one of the reasons that they've been fighting against it, to try and imply that all masculinity is toxic. But the reality is now, for one reason or another, these two evil, politically starved men feel it's politically beneficial to them to promote the idea of a healthy type of masculinity, and that's certainly better than yesterday. That's certainly better than a period when all masculinity is deemed toxic, which is the only messaging we've gotten for the left, certainly in the last 10 years, probably since Obama came to office. Probably since Obama. He's basically marching he's marching an army of young neutered men. That's what he was basically advocating for. A future generation of young neutered men. That's what they've been promoting for probably 15 years. I mean, how long have we been dealing with this? So this is a positive turning point. This is a positive turning point. And I wanted to call attention to it. MLS pointing out here. Give me all the news that isn't about Nick Rekieta beating your Lego stream record with a 9.5-hour Lego stream. What is wrong with someone? I was tagged on X about his 9.5-hour Lego stream. I don't even understand how you could stream for 9.5 hours about Lego. I can't. How long was hours? How long? I was on. This is MLS. David is awesome. You guys should make sure that you are signed up to Making Law Simple. But how can you spend 9 hours working on Lego? I know that when I was doing the Lego stream, and I built the New York City skyline with Lego when I joined him on his stream. So I paused along the way and I would tell stories that took like 20 minutes at a time. I just can't imagine. Wow. I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I'm okay with losing the top spot. I bow to you superior men. Any update on seeing if being a deportation judge is in the near future for you? Judge Logic sounds good. I haven't really run that up the flagpole yet. Should I do that? Should I do that tonight? Should I do that? Try to become a judge. Apply to be a judge. wonder what the application process includes. That would be an interesting stream, right? Watching Joe apply to become a deportation judge. I would do it. I think that they probably are going to make me put in a lot of personal information, so I'd have to take that off camera when I'm doing that. But I do think it would be like I do think that that would be it might be an interesting thing to watch. The background of Tim is a football and classic car book, not his identity. Okay, he is full of crap. Yes, he is 100% full of crap. Spud says, this reminds me of a 40-year-old SNL sketch called Guy Talk. It featured Michael Jackson, Eddie Murphy, and Liberace. With over-the-top macho host Joe Piscopo discussing masculinity. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Well done, Spuds. And I want to welcome those of you from over in the ghetto who raided with Robert from Robert Gavea's stream. Welcome on into the show. God bless you. And yeah, I was getting out of the way before I got to my three main topics. I was getting I was getting off my chest my thoughts about the left. Finally, coming back to something that's a necessary thing for our society, which is for them to re-embrace masculinity for being the amazing thing that it is. By the way, femininity is no less a noble virtue. And like I said, those are not opposites. They've never been opposites. And I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to you. Whenever you think of a masculine man, that individual is very confident. When you think of a feminine woman, that woman is very confident too. There's overlap as far as that mindset and mentality. But I digress. All right. Yeah, I think I remember seeing it, but I might have actually seen it when it happened. So anyhow, where are we at? New lawsuit presses Pentagon State Department to disclose legal justification for Venezuelan boat strikes. Here they go. Here they come. Whenever Trump does something that's genuinely great, they have to sue him for it. That's basically that's the lesson of today. If he does something great, let's sue him for it. They never figured out how to sue him for getting hostages released. They have to sue him for whenever he does something that is obviously a great thing to do. That's the entire game plan of the left. Advocacy groups sued Trump administration for a legal memo justifying the boat strikes. You should tell him go jump in a lake. No. The Trump administration is facing a lawsuit seeking the immediate release of a memo providing the legal justification for U.S. military strikes on drug boats, Fox News has learned. I don't think they have any right to this. I've actually started looking into this as to whether or not they have it, but we'll talk a little bit about that. The lawsuit was filed by the ACLU and the Center for Constitutional Rights, the Department of Justice, including its Office of Legal Counsel, Department of State, and Department of Defense, which was recently renamed the Department of War, listed as defendants. In the lawsuit, the ACLU, which noted the action was being taken under the Freedom of Information Act, so this is a FOIA request, said it was seeking the immediate release of a legal opinion authored by the Office of Legal Counsel, a component of the Department of Justice concerning the U.S. military's claimed authority to carry out lethal strikes on civilians in boats that the U.S. government asserts are carrying drugs. They're not, okay. The U.S. government asserts are carrying drugs. We're going to look at a little bit more closely at this assertion. Just such an empty assertion. The organization claims that in October, The plaintiff submitted identical FOIA requests to OLC, DOD, and the State Department requesting various records, but had not received the documents. The ACLU argued that the release of the information was critically important to ensuring informed public debate about the U.S. military's unprecedented strikes, which it says were carried out in a clear violation of domestic and international law. See, it was not at all a clear violation of domestic and international law. Whatever they wrote in this, you're going to say, well, we disagree with your legal conclusions. And then what? On September 2nd, the Trump administration carried out the first publicly acknowledged strike on a suspected drug boat in the Caribbean Sea. I say Caribbean. Some people say Caribbean. I say Caribbean. Actually, I think I usually say Caribbean. They're both correct. The strike has since become controversial due to a second missile that was shot at the boat, killing the only two survivors of the initial hit. War Secretary Pete Hegseth recently told Fox News' Lucas Tomlinson that it took a couple of weeks, almost a month, to build the intelligence required for the first strike. He said the Pentagon had to reorient assets that had been focused 10,000 miles around the other side of the world for a very long time. President Donald Trump said the survivors were trying to return the boat back to where it could float. While the president initially said he saw no problem releasing the footage, he appears to backtrack on Monday, saying it was up to Hegseth. Okay. While the administration has stood by the strikes as being conducted in a lawful manner, the ACLU argues that the actions are illegal. No one cares. No one cares. The Civil Liberties Organization states in the lawsuit that the U.S. military may not summarily kill civilians who are merely suspected of smuggling drugs, noting that non-lethal measures must be taken first. They're wrong. Not once they've been declared terrorists, which they have been. In the lawsuit, the ACLU requests that the court order the defendants to carry out a full, adequate, and thorough search of all responsive records and to immediately process and release them. So that's where they're coming from. That is where they're coming from. Here's a furious Chuck Schumer saying that he's got demands. I got demands. I got demands for Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. This in a bid to try and relinquish the title of the most hated Democrats at a blue party. Here is Secretary Chuck Schumer.
Now, finally, this afternoon, Secretaries Hegseth and Rubio and top officials will brief the Gang of Eight, and I'll be there. I plan to confront Secretary Hegseth on exactly what the hell is going on in the Caribbean.
Ooh, he's talking serious now. He used the H word. He's serious. Now he means it.
I plan to demand Secretary Hegseth give the total, unedited videos of what happened in the September 2nd boat strikes. Trump originally agreed to do this, but now they're afraid. What's Hegseth hiding? And second, I will demand of Rubio and Hegseth what the hell is going on in the Caribbean and in Venezuela. What are their plans? How far do they plan to go?
They go to removing all the drugs that are flowing across the Caribbean and head in our direction. This is what the Democrats now love. They love more than anything right now is they love cartel drug lords. Like, how stupid a battle to pick. Could there be a less sympathetic battle to pick? Could there not be something that's more obviously just let's find a reason to try and hate on Trump? How many people did Obama kill with drone strikes? Never called him a war criminal. They even killed American citizens, which is no allegation that these gentlemen were.
Trump has already talked about Venezuela waters and even going attacking Venezuela on land. How far do they intend to go?
What? What are you trying to say? I don't understand what you're trying to say.
And when Trump says these crazy things, does he really mean them? And will he drag America into an endless war?
Yeah, that's been his MO, is to drag us into endless wars, right? That's what he's been doing. Doofuses. These are the same idiots who were screaming that bombing Iran was going to bring us into World War III. Yeah, that's what he does. He drags us into. This is where you should be sitting down. You should just be sitting down, because when it comes to international affairs, there's been no president in history which has actually brought more peace to the globe than President Trump. And you're sitting here thinking that you have some sort of clue, that you have some sort of valuable perspective to add to the conversation.
It's about getting truth for the American people. The American people are entitled to see the unedited videos.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. This senator behind him, it looks like it looks like a mannequin of like what someone who was basically 5 minutes after they met death. I mean, death, the individual, and like they're still trying to like recover from the incident. There was like where there's his skin becomes mottled and starts hanging down from his face, and there's a look of terrified fear.
Last week, Trump said he'd have no problem releasing.
Look at him. It looks like he's still looking at death. What's with the eyes here? What is with the eyes? I'm not simply talking about the uncomfortable purple tie. I'm saying everything about his whole body looks like it's melting here on camera. Sorry, I'm supposed to be listening to Schumer. I don't know what I was thinking.
The videos. Then yesterday he walked back his statement, claiming he said it was fake news. You know, this guy's amazing. He said it. It's on the air. Millions saw it. Now he says it's fake news, even though he said it. It means he's a fake.
Oh, they think they got him. It's a little gotcha. Here's a little gotcha.
Let's be clear. The only way to bring clarity is to release the full unedited tapes.
You don't need the full. We need to know a lot more about how he just got rid of drugs that would have killed thousands of Americans. We need to know a lot more about this. We're very outraged that thousands of Americans weren't killed.
That's why the NDA included a provision requiring the Pentagon to hand the tapes over. If they don't, Pete Hegseth's travel budget gets slashed 25%. And this proposal had the support of Democrats and Republicans, including Wicker.
Ooh, it's bipartisan. That's one of their favorite things. It's bipartisan. Oh, there's some Republicans who are on our side also. Ooh, let's get all excited.
Including Republicans in the House and Senate. It shows you that both parties are united.
No, quite not. Quite not.
That these videos ought to be released so the American people can see them. Congress is united in demanding transparency.
No, it's not. It's not. If it was, you would see a bill. You would see an actual proposal, which is signed by, like, I don't know, a majority of members of the House.
Only support this provision, fought to keep it in the bill. Trump, Hegseth, Rubio must do the right thing. And they all must release the tapes and tell the American people the truth the people deserve to hear.
Yes, so that's before the clip unfortunately dies before we can hear whether his voice matches that face of death. My gosh. Wow. It's a reminder to enjoy your youth, because live long enough. I guess that's just what happens to the human body. And obviously that also qualifies you to be a senator. That's what qualifies you to be a senator. Lord. All right. Let's talk about these innocent, harmless fishermen who Trump just brutally murdered them. Here they are. One second. Got a little tech problem here. Why is it doing that to me? Let's make it bigger. A little fisherman out for a stroll here.
There's definitely a lot of stuff in the boat. Looks like he might be dumping some more stuff here. Yep, one. Mark this positive.
2.
922.
3,
07947.
4,
Copy.
5,
Over 30 now. How many objects?
6,
Okay, it's about 5, 6, 7,
8.
8, 9.
These
10,
are all bags of drugs.
11, 12.
Sorry, fish. They're throwing their fish back.
13.
Innocent.
14. Don't stand by.
Oh, they're so innocent.
And the first one you couldn't.
They're so innocent.
This guy's going to beach here pretty soon, I think. He's in a narrow stream here.
Is somebody
They're very much catch and release fishermen. They're all about, they're all just letting it go.
Where county packages being thrown off. Stand by one. Yes, John, I was, so that I didn't have to hear him. No.
Yeah, it's chum. That's right, Richard.
Another large object at 0921 07948. And he's changing course. Looks like he's coming back now. So 2 more packages, 15, 16. Yep. And those were larger, I don't know, those made a larger splash than the other ones.
Yeah, that clip is not bad, but I have a better one. Here's a better clip, so you can get a feel for just how much drugs they're carrying here. Look at these white bags here. Look at these white bags. Look at this. Look at those massive white bags. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. They're making the ocean toxic. Somehow, all the climate concerns are not worried about how much drugs they're dumping overboard and what they're doing to the marine life. I don't know what that noise is. It's gonna make me annoyed though. Not you. I was saying on the audio feed. Yeah. Where are all the climate experts who are so concerned about the environment all the time? Zero concern for the marine life that's getting coked out of their minds. That's a lot of drugs. That's a lot. When Trump said that they kill on estimate 25,000 Americans, I was like, that sounds crazy. How can it be that many Americans? And then I see how much drugs they like each boat is carrying, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. It starts to add up. Starts to add up. So obviously that's all a very harmless endeavor. It's obviously something that, it's not something that should be a concern to us. Maggie Goodlander, though, the one who was telling one of the seditious 6 who was telling our military, totally you should ignore any orders you get because we think they're unconstitutional. That's here's Maggie Goodlander weighing in. She's all perplexed by the situation.
The president and the Secretary of Defense have a lot of questions to answer about the legal basis and the strategic value of all the strikes that we've seen go down. And
all the strikes, they're all unconstitutional. I mean, this lunatic, I don't know what's with her face today. Doesn't usually look quite this creepy, but yeah, they have lots of questions to answer.
There are 22 that we know about. The president has serious questions to answer about how these strikes are actually making the American people safer. How
about that? We're not going to have, dead Americans. That's one way it makes it safer, from like drugs. That's just one way.
I'm deeply committed to cracking down on the transnational cartels.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Wait, what way? saying, please don't do that? What the heck are you talking about?
That are fueling American overdose deaths, but it is not yet clear how these strikes are helping to advance that important objective.
It's not clear. Maggie Goodlander has questions. Like Candace Owens, Maggie Goodlander has questions. She finds it curious. I don't understand. How is it that getting rid of cartel running drug runners and their drugs is slowing down the drug epidemic in this country? Like, where does the connection there? Like, how do those two things come together, that stopping drug boats from bringing thousands and kilos of drugs to our country is in some way slowing down the drug crisis we have here? She's like, this is why. Where's the connection? Where's the connection? Maggie's very confused. She's very confused. She has all sorts of questions. I have questions. I just don't know how. I recognize that that's a very important objective, of course, but how is this benefiting? That's Maggie's questions. These are the people who are elected to Congress. These are the people. She's considered like one of the smart ones, the educated ones. I'm sure she went to a very prestigious university. But she can't put it together. She can't. Maybe we should walk her through it. Maggie, just want to here's a thought. If there's less drugs and less folks capable of bringing drugs into our country, I think it's possible, just maybe, it's going to have like a little dent there on how many Americans die from drugs. It's a crazy thought. I know. It's crazy. These people are unbelievable. They actually go on TV and say these things out loud. Like maybe, I don't know, practice in a mirror. Ask yourself, maybe if you can't really sort through the whole thing in your own mind, maybe just have someone listen to you. Say, hey, I'm going to go on CNN. I'm going to say this. Tell me how smart I sound when I say this. Tell me if you see any sort of critical analysis flaw here. Lunatics. They're just crazy people. Analysis flaw here. They're just crazy people. I don't know what's wrong with them. Tank Rat looks like a legit target. Hey, Joe, great to see you, Tank Rat. Member for 38 months, my man. I'm going to give you the horn. That's like 8 years or something by my math. That's crazy. I didn't even know I've been doing this for 8 years. Wow. Good to see you, brother. Takes 2 milligram fentanyl to OD. That's 500 per gram or 500K per kilogram. Okay. All right. Can we just pause for a second? I have sort of a stupid question. I can't even ask it. I can't. Everyone's be like, oh my gosh, he's so naive. He's so ignorant. I'm so ignorant about drugs. I really am. I'm so ignorant about drugs that I'm very, very confused. And it's probably a question I should not have while I'm streaming live to, be viewed by potentially thousands of people. It's probably a better question for me to actually just ask. I don't know. ChatGPT or Grok or someone who's not going to. I'm very confused by the whole thing. I'm very, very confused. Exactly. I understand that there's even a tiny amount of fentanyl can be lethal. That part I got. I'm very confused. I shouldn't even ask it. I shouldn't even ask it. I understand 500 deaths per gram. I'm just saying, okay, the fentanyl that they're bringing. You know what? I'm gonna save it for tomorrow. I'm just very confused by the whole situation. I know a kilo is two. I know that. I'm very confused about the fentanyl situation. How, like, I understand that they're putting it in cocaine. I just don't understand. You look me up. I no, okay, so this is what all right. All right. Earl is saying you're not going to judge me, okay? People do fentanyl, or the fentanyl is being laced, or the fentanyl is, in other words, are there people who are doing fentanyl but then people say fentanyl itself, 2 milligrams would kill someone. Fentanyl is highly addictive, more than crack or heroin. So then how are 2 milligrams, like how does anyone become an addict without ODing if it's that lethal? That's what's so confusing to me. Small amounts crack up the high in other drugs. So when we see these big bags of drugs, I would have assumed 3 years ago, before I ever heard of fentanyl, I would have just assumed that's cocaine. I would have just been picturing Tony Montoya sending them out on the boats. This is what I would have pictured. People build up a tolerance. You build a tolerance. See, and this is the other thing. Other drugs are being cut with fentanyl. Isn't that self-defeating? Someone is looking to, they have a repeat customer to just say, oh, okay, I'm just going to, have this guy killed. So that's what I don't understand. I don't know. I feel very stupid about this entire conversation. Look at this. Deb Mueller. So glad I followed the following. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deb Mueller. I'll give you the bell for that. Jim tells you, says, Joe, those are extremely prized rare catch called square grouper. We come across those pretty regularly here in Florida. Raid. All right, I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you. But I don't think my question is like, look, I'm just very confused. A better high gets more repeat customers, but if 2 milligrams would kill someone, how little of it are they putting in that it's not killing people when they're first? I feel very stupid on this whole issue. Not a lack of sympathy. I have tremendous sympathy. I don't understand. I don't understand it. I'm very confused by it, but it is what it is. All right. Anyhow, drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. I mean that sincerely. They're really bad. It's not good. And I know I vape. You all see me vape all the time. I get it. Not nearly the same thing as drugs. It's really not. All right. I have a surprise topic for you all tonight. I do. Just a short one. But it's one you're going to like. It's a surprise topic. Yeah, that's right. I just throw that on in here. Bam. Didn't even throw in description. Nowhere. I had nothing. It was not there at all. And boom, instant surprise topic. And that is Somali community leader in Minnesota says Ilhan Omar married brother so he can get student loans. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is now someone from inside the community. There have been speculation and talk about this. I mean, I'm sure all you're like old news. I'm sure a lot of people you're like old news. Everyone knows this. No, now we have someone from inside the community because there's been all sorts of questions. You know, people are like, "Wait, isn't that?" And we get confused about names because they're not American sounding names. We get very confused about these names, and maybe it's a different person with a similar name. No, this is an insider from the community who's like, no, she totally married her brother. A Somali community leader in Minnesota has come forward to say that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota did in fact marry her brother, Ahmed Elmi. The leader said that Omar did so because he, quote, needed to get papers for her brother to go to school. Elmi was Omar's second husband, and they were married by a Christian pastor. In Somali culture, only her first marriage, which took place in a mosque, was counted as legitimate. Abdihakim Osman, a friend of Omar's and the person behind a Facebook blog that comments on Somali issues, told the Daily Mail that no one knew there had been a wedding until the media turned up the marriage certificate years later. Omar married her first husband, Hersi, in 2002 Muslim ceremony that was not registered with the state. They welcomed their first child, Isra, the following year, and his second child after that. Osman said that Elmi appeared in Minneapolis in the late 2000s. The Daily Mail said that Osman, who spoke in Somali and used an interpreter, referred to Hersi by his nickname Southside throughout the interview. So, excuse me. Quote, people began noticing that Ilhan and Southside, Hersi, first husband, excuse me, were often with a very effeminate young guy, said Osman. He was very feminine in the way he dressed. He would wear light lipstick and pink clothes and very, very short shorts in the summer. People started whispering about him, Hersi and Ilhan both told me it was Ilhan's brother, and he had been living in London, but he was mixing with what were seen as bad influences that the family did not like. So they sent him to Minneapolis as rehab. He continued, when Hersi and Ilhan got married, a lot of people were invited. It was a big Islamic wedding, uniting two large clans in the Minneapolis community. I would say there were 100 to 150 people there. I don't know. To me, 100 to 150 people is not considered a big wedding. In most Orthodox Jewish weddings, you got a minimum of 300. However, when she married Elmi, no one even knew about it. A wedding license showed that the two married on February 12, 2009 at a Hennepin County office located outside of Minneapolis. The two lived at an address in Columbia Heights before moving to Fargo, North Dakota, where they both attended North Dakota State. They were married by Christian minister Willicia Harris. Omar has said that she and Hersi separated in 2008. She also said that after that date, the two were still together as husband and wife. She said she needed to get papers for her brother to go to school. We all thought she was just getting papers together to allow him to stay in this country. Once she had the papers, they could apply for student loans. They both moved to North Dakota to go to school, but she was married to Hersi in the Somali way. The only marriage that mattered was the one in the mosque. Osman continued. Ilhan came back to Minneapolis all the time to see her family, but her brother didn't come with her. He believes Omar and Elmi got married by someone outside the Somali community because an imam would have known they were related and denied the marriage. Omar and Elmi divorced in 2017, after which she remarried Hersi in a civil ceremony in 2018. Osman told the outlet that this is not a marriage and said it of herself and Hersi that they never parted, meaning they were married throughout the entire time. Hersi and Omar divorced in November of 2025. And it was revealed that Omar was reportedly having an affair with Tim Minette, a married father of one and her chief fundraiser. So this woman, my gosh. Hersi married pediatric nurse Layden Ahmed 37 days after the two divorced. This is just, this is creepy. Maya and his wife divorced in December. Omar married Minette. Okay. So they divorced in November 2025. Omar was reportedly having an affair with Tim Minette. And Hersey married pediatric nurse Layden Ahmed 37 days after the two divorced. But okay, was that like this week? I mean, 37 days ago, it was October 2025. I'm confused. And then Omar married Minette, the one she was purportedly having an affair with. Osman, who came to the U.S. in 2004. This is so gross. Oh, my God. Osman came to the U.S. in 2004, so he got to know Hersey well during his first few years in Minneapolis, with the two meeting when Hersey was working in a barber shop. They regularly ate at a local restaurant together, and Osman occasionally helped Hersey with his defunct hookah business. And no one's ever going to prosecute these people for what was very clearly student loan fraud. That's clearly what was happening here, at the very least. Wait, you never heard the phrase, Marty? You never heard the phrase, I can fix her? I can fix him? You never heard that phrase? This whole thing is sickening. It is so gross and disgusting. One more quick story I want to share with you all here. One more short little blurb. Just because I think it's funny, and if I can entertain you, then I say, hey, why not go for it, right? I should probably do that. So trying to find it here. This one was higher up. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not it. I should probably have some music in the background here, just to entertain you all for the moments that I'm doing that. Just for the moments that I'm doing something like this. But no. Oh, heck it. I'm not seeing it there. We'll just do this. Breaking: DC police chief resigns amid homicide data manipulation investigation. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Brown announced on Monday that Police Chief Pamela A. Smith will be stepping down. Chief Smith dramatically drove down violent crime, drove down the homicide rates to its lowest levels in 8 years. Yeah, she drove down the rate. She just didn't stop any homicides. But the measuring rate, she drove those numbers way down. Way down. Oh, my God. And it helped us restore a sense of safety and accountability in our neighborhoods. No. Bowser did not give a specific reason for Smith's departure, other than the fact that she's in a brewing scandal right now, because she didn't drive down the actual rate of death from homicide. She just drove down the numbers and ignored what was actually happening. Smith spoke, that's my suspicion. Smith spoke to Fox 5, however, and said that she resigned to spend more time with her family. Before what? Going to prison? More time with her family. After 28 years in law enforcement, she said, quote, I've been going nonstop. Metro PD officers have said that the crime stats are manipulated to make the police look better. Yeah. Quote, we met some challenges in August of this year with the federal surge in the executive order with regards to the crime emergency, she said. But what I will say is that Muriel Bowser did a fantastic job leading us through those efforts. Yeah, trying to stand in Trump's way when he actually was genuinely helping cut down murder. That's very very impressive work there, Ms. Smith. Serving alongside such dedicated professionals, and that's what they always do, right? I don't think that's unique to the left. I think both sides, politicians, they're always like rubbing each other's chain and like saying, "Oh, such fine work." Oh, what amazing work. Oh, what remarkable work. They all just care about the credit. And they feel like if I give credit, I'll get more credit. Serving alongside such dedicated professionals, both those on the front lines and those working tirelessly behind the scenes, has been one of the greatest honors of my career, Smith told the Washington Post. When our members respond to the scene of a felony offense where there's a victim reporting that a felony occurred, inevitably there will be a lieutenant or a captain that will show up on the scene and direct those members to take a report for a lesser offense, Fraternal Order Police Chairman Greg Pemberton said in August. Uh-oh. So maybe that's what she's overseeing? That, like, hey, some high-level person is going to come in here and degrade the level of offense that people don't realize just how terrible the crime is in D.C.? That's the claim. The House Oversight Committee launched an investigation into the allegations that crime data was manipulated. Quote, a whistleblower with direct knowledge of internal MPD operations and crime data discussions also informed the committee that crime statistics were allegedly manipulated on a widespread basis and at the direction of senior MPD officials. According to the whistleblower, while MPD took action against a single district commander, the issue potentially affects all 7 patrol districts, as MPD leadership allegedly instructed commanders to routinely downgrade charges to artificially lower district crime statistics, which is why Muriel Bowser sounds like a lying hypocrite when she comes out there and says that she drove down crime rates, homicide rates. Washington, D.C. has been the site of a ramp up of National Guard troops in an effort to deter crime. Curfews and other measures were put in place over the summer to encourage teenagers to stay home and stop shooting at each other, which, you know, that's kind of a good thing. A little less of the whole shooting at yourself, at each other thing is probably going to increase your longevity. In November, 2 National Guard troops were shot at. One of them was killed. Smith was appointed in 2023 and after 24 years of service with the U.S. Park Police. D.C. has had 5 police chiefs since 2007. D.C. Metropolitan Police have been under federal control since August, so she basically hasn't been doing anything during the peak of their work because from what I saw, I'm thinking back, they were having like roughly 10 a month murders, and now it's down to like 4 in D.C. So they went from having 10 per month to having like 4. So maybe it wasn't her that was driving it down because that started in August. The numbers started coming down. Maybe it wasn't her. Now, perhaps there's more manpower there now. Certainly more controls with having curfews, so less likely there'll be problems. But, and not so much her. Not so much her. Mayor Bowser called for hundreds more police in September after Trump's order went into effect in the district. So that's nice. Now you're calling for hundreds more police. Who the hell would want to work for you people? Who would? Why would someone want to work for you when all you're doing is not actually helping people, but just bulking up numbers? Like, why would someone want to work with you and for you? Let's think about why someone becomes a cop. The most noble of reasons is that they want to help society. And I think that there's probably a significant percentage of law enforcement officers who sign up specifically for that. They're incredibly brave and they want to help society, right? Then you have those who are into the power, meaning the being an authority, someone who's can walk around the streets of a city which doesn't allow guns, carrying a gun and imposing their will. You have, some are insecure. But basically, to the extent that there are good cops, and I think that I'm going to attribute and say that the majority of cops are good. That's my personal opinion. They believe in the nobility of actually helping their fellow man. And when you see that it's not actually being helped, but we're going to try and brush actual crime under the table, even something as horrific as a homicide, and we're going to try and brush that under the table. That's a very debilitating feeling because you're like, I'm not helping anything here. All they're doing is they're just going to sweep it under the rug. So you don't need me for that. So why would someone who's actually going to grow into being a good cop want to work for you? Now, there could be financial benefits, which would be like, it's worth it to them. But you're basically when you have that type of approach, which is obviously a selfish, self-interest, let me look good type of approach, irrespective of what a crappy job I'm doing, but I want to look good because that's the most important thing. Most important thing is not, if you're a politician, is not actually doing good, but for far too many of these politicians, including Muriel Bowser or political figures like the head of the police chief, Patty Smith, the objective is much more important to look good than to actually do good. And when people who actually have concern about doing good see that, that's very demoralizing. They're like, why would I want to work for this agency? We need more cops. Well, maybe if you actually presented yourselves as people who care about doing good in the world rather than looking good for the world, maybe you'd have more cops. I'm just saying. Maybe if you effectuated policies that didn't encourage folks marching around saying all cops are bad, people wouldn't be so hesitant to become a cop. Just saying. This is not something this is simple common sense, which I don't understand why they think anything different would happen. Why would you ever think such a thing? It's pretty stupid. You heard 10% want to do good, 8% just want a job, and 10% should never be cops. I don't know. I'm sure it depends on the district that you're talking about. So I don't know. Curtis wants the music. Curtis wants the music. Should we? You don't need music. I know where I'm going next. You don't need music. Seriously. I know where I'm going next. Music. I wanted to share with you all. Okay, there was
Candace Owens is a
people were telling me yesterday when I was talking about Tim Pool and the shooting that he was launching off at Candace. I hadn't seen this until right before the show. And I've been talking about this a little bit on air. So I've been talking about, I mean, on X, it's not on air, excuse me. I've been talking about this on X somewhat, and I just wanted to share with you, wow, the rage of Tim Pool sometimes can be kind of a thing to see. This is after. So yesterday, if you missed the show yesterday, shame on you. You missed out that we were discussing how there was a shooting near the property of the guns were firing off near Tim Pool's property. And most folks believe that they were being shot in the direction of his home and studio. So so apparently Candace Owens went out and basically he's been feuding with Candace Owens about her Charlie Kirk coverage and basically calling her out for being a grifter who's harming the left, who's harming conservatives, everything about MAGA, that she's harming that, and that she's basically appealing to the stupidest element, which amongst any large group of people, there's going to be some stupid people with her bad faith. I have questions, where she nitpicks most ridiculous things in the world and then tries saying, I have questions. So Candace Owens responded. Let me see if I can. This I do want to find first. I should give you music before I do this. I should try to find. This is something I really did want to find. Candace Owens had a thumbnail, and her thumbnail was designed to make. Where was it? This crazy woman here. Look at her thumbnail, the $1 billion question. Look at this thumbnail. The $1 billion question: who stood to benefit from Charlie Kirk's assassination? A picture of Kash Patel, Tim Pool, and anonymous question. Anonymous question. Like, oh, it's Tim Pool. Well, it's Kash Patel, Tim Pool, and a third anonymous person, which is like, let's break this down because I have questions. Woman's a psycho. She's literally psychotic. None of these people had any benefit, but who stood to benefit? There we go. So this is Tim Pool after he saw that.
Candace Owens is a fucking evil scumbag. She is a degenerate cunt. She is burning everything down, and she's gloating and smiling while she does it. And you know what you fucking told me? She has no security. She doesn't fucking deal with the shit we have to deal with. She's a piece of shit. She's making everyone else suffer. And all of these fucking conservatives out there that send me these fucking messages have no fucking balls to call her out. More and more people have started doing it. They send me these fucking messages. Good for you, Tim. Good for you, Tim. I wasn't the first person to do it. I'm not going to take credit for that. But don't fucking DM me like I did something for you as you cower, as you fucking cower, scared that she'll put you on her thumbnail and claim you benefited from Charlie Kirk's assassination, which he's doing to me right fucking now.
Yeah, that was the...
I'm fucking done with these people.
He has security, just not on the level of you.
Oh, yeah, the one fat guy you mentioned with no wall and no barrier in a suburban neighborhood with neighbors. She doesn't give two fucking shits. No one's out for her. She's lying about all.
Everyone knows she's lying. Anyone thinks Tim Pool had something to gain from Charlie Kirk being killed? Of course not. The only person who benefits from... there's been no person who has benefited from Charlie Kirk's death like Candace Owens. She is the most likely culprit here, because she's gotten way more views than she's ever gotten in her life while she talks about I'm trying to figure out what happened to my friend. Oh, my friend, my dear friend. I'm so worried. Let me tell you how his widow killed him. I'm so worried. I'm so worried. Stop supporting TPUSA. I'm so worried that we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to make sure that we completely bankrupt the entity that he started, because I'm so worried and I care about him. She is an evil, evil, evil Machshefa. He's right. She is.
This. You told me you went to her house and she's got a 4-foot wall and one fat guy, and she doesn't give a shit about her security. Meanwhile, I get bullets fired at my fucking property and I have to go live in the middle of nowhere. And I got fucking strangers coming up to my house in Maryland, breaking in. I got people showing up and beating up the residents who try to live there. How the fuck am I even supposed to sell this property? And, you know, it's all lies. It's all hypocrisy. And it is for the purpose of making money. And she does not live the way other people live. And she claims she liked Charlie. She loved Charlie. And she is burning everything down that he built because she is evil. She is evil. And I'll say it again. This conservative movement is fractured. It's fried, whatever it is. Okay. Republicans are on track to lose the midterms. They were actually trending in the other direction until Charlie Kirk was murdered.
Yeah.
And this is the point, isn't it? The most effective political assassination in history. And thanks to the likes of the vile cunt Candace Owens, she has turned Turning Point into the perpetrators of the crime that was against them. I don't get paid by any of these people. I'm not on good terms necessarily with Turning Point USA. They didn't invite me to their stupid event. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. They invited me back after I started criticizing Candace. I'm not going to your event. I'm over all of this shit. The last thing that I need to deal with is a bunch of cowards in conservative media refusing to stand up to her. Megyn Kelly, come on. I appreciate the kind words, but come on. Such fucking pathetic bullshit. You know, and I get people saying, Tim, you know, thank you so much for talking about.
No, I think it is evil. I think it is evil because it's selfish activity that she knows is stupid. She knows better. She knows that the theories she's throwing out there are really stupid. But she shares it out there because it gets millions of views because it's a hot take. So she shares it out there because and makes people say, I have questions. I want to explain, you know, I shared a video last night on X. I shared this over on X, and I want to just share something with you because I think that this is right on point. And I shared it in the middle of like 2:00 in the morning, so no one saw it, which I knew was going to happen. But I shared this out because I thought that this was something Owen Schroyer shared out because I was like, this is what This is a classic video. It's not going to seem relevant when I put this out. Well, you may not understand the relevance of where I'm going with this. This is what Owen Schroyer shared out about the links between Kennedy and Lincoln.
Most insane coincidence in history. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960.
Can you not hear Candace Owens presenting this if she was alive in 1963 when Kennedy was assassinated? Can you not imagine her going out there? I find this to be very interesting. Both of them were elected. One was elected in 1860. The other was elected in 1960. I think that's very interesting.
Both were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost a child while living in the White House.
Both of them mysteriously, under very strange circumstances, had a child, had a wife who lost a child while they were in the White House. Don't you think that's strange that two presidents would have a child die, that have a wife die, see their kid die during childbirth? And don't you think that's so curious? I find this to be very curious. Don't you think that's interesting?
Both presidents were shot on a Friday.
Oh my gosh! Both of them on a Friday. Both of them.
Presidents were shot in the head. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln.
Ooh, now we're definitely on to something here that you can see. They tell you what they're going to do because Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary named Lincoln. Interesting.
Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson.
Every time that there's an assassination of one of these two guys, they're succeeded by a Johnson. That's very strange. That's very strange to me. I don't understand. How does that happen?
Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated Kennedy, born in 1939.
Oh my gosh. And somehow they managed to find an assassin who's born exactly 100 years apart also. Interesting.
Both assassins were known by their three names, both names composed of 15 letters. Lincoln was shot at the theater named Ford. Kennedy was shot in a car called Lincoln, made by Ford. Both and Oswald were assassinated before their trials. And here's the kicker: a week before Lincoln was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. A week before Kennedy was shot, he was with Marilyn Monroe.
Monroe, Maryland? Marilyn Monroe. Whoa. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here. I just have questions, The point is that that's what she does. That in life, there's always going to be some sort of things that are weird coincidences. Maybe not as many as we see between the Lincoln and Kennedy assassinations, but she'll find those. She'll know that basically, we in MAGA in particular are most susceptible towards thinking there's conspiracies that's going on. So she'll basically try and find any sort of link and be like, I find that curious. Oh, there was a delegate of Egyptians who were in town that week. Oh, I find that very interesting. Very, very interesting. Don't you think that's strange? Why would they be coming there specifically during that week? Where it's like you just take a normal actual coincidence and try and insinuate, but you don't do one of them. You take one and then another and then another and then another to help concoct some craziness where you're basically like, well, you see? That's what she's doing. And she's been riding that for millions and millions of views because she's a grifter.
Care. I'm not doing a favor for anybody. I'm not doing this to benefit anybody. Nobody's paying me. There's no fucking Russia. There's no fucking Israel. There's just me sticking my neck out and then risking dying for what? A bunch of cowards that don't want to stand up to protect themselves? People like fucking Candace Owens?
I couldn't believe that she put you in the thumbnail.
What a fucking cunt.
Her piece today.
I'm done.
The idea that she'd imply
done.
that you had some benefit or that you benefit somehow. Like
she benefited. I think she's a Fed, and I think she killed Charlie. No one benefited more than her.
True. No one benefited more than her. No one benefited more than her. So there you go. All right. I mentioned trans troops have been blocked. Many of you may be aware of the fact that Trump has basically said he's not having trans in his military because they're delusional, which to a normal person would basically take that as, okay, I'm also not having psychotic lunatics. I'm not having suicidal people in my military. If there's something wrong with your brain, I don't want that to be affecting the performance of my military. I feel bad for you, but can't have you there. Can't serve in that role. So that's been dancing around in court, in particular on the left coast, and there was a restraining order that was compelling him to put him back in the military. His district court sided, obviously, with the trans. And here you go. He applies to the Ninth Circuit and says, let's stay that whole thing. And they say, upon consideration of the emergency motion for a stay pending appeal, the opposition thereto and the reply and the Rule 28J letters and the response thereto, and the letter request to lift the administrative stay and the response thereto is hereby ordered the administrative stay entered on March 27, 2025 be dissolved. It is further ordered that the motion for a stay pending appeal be granted, meaning that we're going to have a stay on the order that's directing Trump that he has to reinsert the trans folk back into the military. A concurring statement of Circuit Court Judge Katsas, joined by Circuit Judge Rao, and a dissenting statement of Circuit Judge Pillard are attached. So what does this mean? Well, first and foremost, this is actually, it references the Ninth Circuit, but this is District of Columbia Court Circuit. So I apologize that I got that. I was mistaken about that. I mistook the wrong court. No matter, because frankly, the DC Circuit.
Now, finally, this afternoon,
that's not what I want to happen either.
Hegseth and Rubio and top officials.
The DC Circuit is no less a crazy leftist entity. So, sorry about that. But the bottom line is this. For now, even the loonies in the DC circuit have recognized he probably has authority to decide to what considers mental fitness. And if someone has a gender identity issue, that he probably has the authority to say that that's not, there's a good chance he's got authority for that. Does this mean he's going to win? No. I do think that he's going to be successful and keep them out ultimately when this whole thing is finally adjudicated. Because whatever standards they put in for mental agility, for mental ability, mental capacity, and that's purely a decision that our military has to make on their own without being subjected to whether a court agrees with their yardstick for that. Becomes a matter of national security. When something's a matter of national security, there's a greater likelihood that the decision of the executive branch is going to prevail. So I think that by the time this whole thing gets adjudicated and resolved, I don't know if it's going to happen at district court level. I don't know if it's going to happen at the circuit court level or the Supreme Court level. But I do think that Trump is going to be successful on this one, on keeping them out of the military. Now, it would be helpful if we actually had some sort of, actual legislation to that effect, which seems like such a foreign concept that you can't even imagine such a thing ever happening, despite the fact that it's most obvious common sense in the world. Because even if you're someone who believes in trans rights, you still need to recognize at the end of the day that their gender dysmorphia is dysmorphia, that's sort of an issue with their brain. But we're coming out of an administration, meaning we've left an administration where they were elevating people to the highest levels of military and recognition because of their trans mental issues. That those were considered qualifications. Those were considered bases to laud them and hold them up as an ideal. That's how twisted and sickening the Biden administration was. But so yeah, as far as that ever passing as being a law, obviously that's not going to happen anytime. But I do think that it's a positive that even the DC circuit seems to recognize that this is an area of his purview. Earlier I was covering the entire story with respect to the application that's being brought by a FOIA request to try and get the Trump administration to turn over the legal memo that they relied upon for the basis of attacking those cartel boats. And I feel like I neglected to give you my perspective on that. The question ultimately is going to come down to likely whether or not that's deemed a question of national security. I think he's probably going to prevail. Probably going to. I don't know that that's going to happen. I think he's probably going to prevail there. Sorry. I had a little pop-up here, which is just... Let's just close this entire window because I keep getting one pop-up after another on this thing. I know you guys didn't hear it, but I did. So if it's a matter of national security, that's an area where the executive branch is going to trump and win. And Trump will be trumping. Trump will be winning that. If it's an area that they can try and carve out as not being something that is national security, in that case, a FOIA request is obviously going to have more ground there. Now, there is another exception to a FOIA request, which is that it's information he's relying on for the purposes of making a decision, which that is something that I think that he's that's an exception which I think certainly can bring in. In other words, it's sort of like that if it's considered something that's there's a basis for privacy behind it. But a legal memo is not exactly war plans. The other question is how much of war plans are baked into those legal memos? How detailed are they? How relevant are they for future operations? Something that's only relevant to the past is less likely to be protected from a FOIA request than something that's an ongoing concern. So when you're writing a legal memo, you often will cite various factors, various things about the situation which create the setup for trying to reach a legal conclusion. To the extent that there is potentially sensitive information that's included, that would be a reason to say that the legal memo should not be incorporated. Now, on the other hand, it also can be redacted. You can take parts of the legal memo and say these parts we're allowing in, those parts we're not allowing in. But the only reason that they want to have a legal memo is because they basically want to look at the legal reasoning and try and assail it. They want to try and say this is not valid legal basis. Because we know that because you can basically parse through all different legal bases that he has, and they're still demanding it, saying we think that he broke the law. So you know that they you know that the objective here is that they want to try and use this as a basis to try and impeach him by saying that he committed some sort of war crime. The hypocrisy of this is astonishing when you consider, like I said, how many thousands of incidents we had of people being killed by drone strike by Obama without there ever being a single cry of there being a war crime. Nor should there have been. Despite how much I despise Obama, I don't think that that's an appropriate use of trying to chastise a president. So I never once ever called, even before I had a show, which was, you know, during the Obama administration, I never, as much as I couldn't stand that man and thought that he was a life force for evil, I never once thought that any of his relentless drone strikes were justification for his removal from office. So, yeah, this whole notion here is stupid politically, and it's fraught with all sorts of legal issues. That doesn't mean that they won't get pieces of it. And to the extent they can get more of it, the more of it they can get, the more grounding they feel they will have for an impeachment. They're trying to build for having an impeachment in 2027. That's what this is all about. They want to bog him down. They're hoping that they can win the House in 2026, and then with the new term that comes in 2027, that they can impeach him. And one of the bases that they feel like this is a potential avenue for success is if we could try and label him some sort of war criminal who has to be impeached in 2027. So they're not going to try to do this now. They're not going to do this when they don't have the House. But as soon as they get the House, which they're hopeful and realistically hopeful that they may take the House in 2027, that they at that point will be able to basically spend the next 2 years calling him a war criminal and trying to impeach him. And they feel like this is helping set them up for that. That's all this is. That's all this is. Will they succeed in getting that legal memo? They could get, it's unlikely to get all of it, but they could get pieces of it. I think the most likely thing that we'll see is a splitting of the baby from the court, where they'll redact certain portions of it and allow the logical legal arguments in there to be released to the public. That's what I expect to happen. If that does happen, I'll try and break down the legal arguments that are presented in there and give you my perspective on it. But I have a feeling that they probably were on fairly solid legal ground. So I wanted to give you that breakdown so you have an understanding as to what's going on. Tankrat says, LOL, international maritime law of war is what people should be looking at, not the international law of war on land that everyone is referring to. It's apparently more brutal than the rules on land. Interesting. I didn't know that. I missed a bunch of things. That was Tim Wall's delivery. Now he'll be extra tired. Did we get 3 hours last night, and did all the memberships gifted count? We didn't. I know you gifted last night. Gifted 10 memberships. But we were very far away last night. We were very far away. Even if I counted them as, I think we were very far away last night. I don't know why. Some days they're coming in, some days they're not. I can never tell which show is going to come closer towards meeting a goal than others. I feel like incompetent in trying to figure that out. You would think that by now I would have some sort of idea about that, and I really feel shows that I think are never going to go anywhere will end up surpassing our goal a half hour in, and others that I think are likely to lead towards a lot of super chats get next to nothing. And I feel it's a reminder to me that I don't have any control over my own income, that this is all just a gift from God, and that God basically controls how much money I'm going to make in a given year, a given month, week, or day. That everything day by day is basically a gift from God. So I'm very curious about the rules of law, and I do plan on checking into that because I think that this is very relevant. It's likely to keep propping up a lot more over the next year or so. Who wants to watch, hopefully, Judge Joe do paperwork to apply to be an immigration judge on a live stream this evening? Me. I'll tell you what. Fine. I don't think we're going to hit our goal. I don't think we're going to hit our goal. We're very far from hitting a goal tonight. But we hit our goal. Sure. Why not? What the hell? Why not? Instead of a call-in, I'll do the paperwork to become an immigration judge. Okay? I don't see it happening. These are tips. These are tips for tax purposes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I did remember today. I know neurodivergent. No one mentioned to me yesterday. So that just got lost on me. Pinochet's helicopter says, you think this is bad? Wait until Democrats come to kill anyone right up now. That's almost certainly going to happen. TX47 says, damn it, man. NCIS starts in 30 minutes. I'm sorry. Pinochet says, now take those pill presses capable of mimicking commercial products. Bootleg versions cut with fentanyl have been reported before. Oh, this is okay, Joe. 5-10 years ago, the FBI and DOJ fined eBay millions. Pill presses were sold to unknown buyers. Presses capable of thousands and blister packs. Now take those pill presses capable of mimicking commercial products. Bootleg versions cut with fentanyl have been reported before. So confused. Pinochet says we need those drugs to poison our political opponents. God bless you. Because God is good. That is true. God is good. Thank you very, very much, Liz. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's talk about the GAO and their findings about Obamacare. Let's cover that. Let's cover that real quick. In 2023 alone, the GAO found over $20 billion in fraud in Obamacare. That's just in 2023. $20 billion. Now imagine how much fraud that is over the course of, I don't know, let's say 10 years. It's been going for 15 years, but let's see. Let's see.
Major hit to Barack Obama's legacy, Obamacare. Congress's watchdog, the GAO, found massive systemic fraud in Obamacare. $21 billion potentially in fraud in just 2023 alone. 58,000 dead people got $94 million, but Obamacare was why Democrats shut down the government last month for 43 days. They want $400 billion more in subsidies. The Senate votes next week on a Democrat plan to try to get that spending. Luke Usier from Senate Budget, Kansas Senator Roger Marshall. Senator, you've been all over Obamacare fraud. How can Democrats demand and justify more money and spending? And let's go through what the GAO found. 97,000 double-dipped and got at least double or triple the coverage. Obamacare gave out coverage without requesting documents. They gave out...
why would you want documents? We just tell us what you want. We'll send it to you.
Out 190,000 separate instances of unauthorized payouts, fake identities. They still got Obamacare. So they were getting these tax credits with fake IDs and dead people's social security numbers and more. What do you think, Senator?
Well, the GAO confirmed exactly what we were expecting. You know, and another example is that one social security number was used 125 different times. So as we expected, there's probably $35 billion of fraud. The reason that we were kind of tipped off is only about a third of the people on Obamacare actually filed a claim with their insurance company. So these were ghost patients. And by the way, most of these were not paying any type of a premium. They had a $0 premium thanks to the enhanced subsidies. So the bill that we dropped today is going to address these issues. It's going to require a real ID. It's going to require some type of biometrics. It's going to require those people to actually make a monthly type of payment so that they see something coming out of their real checking account.
Is it now an extinct species of any Democrat who cares about the public purse, who cares about taxpayer
Nope. That entity died a long time ago.
Money going flying out the door. I mean, this is simple garden variety tax credit fraud. Tax credits, it's so easy to commit fraud via tax credits. It's basically money that goes right out the front door. I mean, Biden signed legislation supercharging Obamacare fraud, putting it on steroids. So does any Democrat exist in D.C. saying, yeah, this is bad, we got to stop it?
Well, Liz, I'm afraid you're right. So we've approached multiple Democrats to be co-sponsors to our bill. And what stopped them is that we were requiring $5 a month. We were requiring each one of these people to make a $5 payment per month to stop some of that fraud. We can't get one Democrat sponsor. So they say they want to fix Obamacare, but do they really? I think that's the question. What they really want is Medicare for all, which ends up being Medicaid for all. Again, that's their goal here.
Which means more fraud, which means fraud on steroids. I mean, this is really out of hand. We're going to be monitoring this. Thank you so much, Senator Roger Marsh.
So, yeah, the fraud is out of hand. We got a lot more numbers that I want to break down for you, just so you can get wrap your head. $20 billion in just 2023. Here's another clip for you with Representative Jason Smith talking about the level of fraud that's going on.
There's a lot of issues within healthcare. As you stated, the GAO report was a request that myself, Chairman Jordan, and Chairman Kathy Morse Rogers did last year. And the findings that came out this week are pretty disturbing. Just one Social Security number had more than 125 different policies.
That's funny. That's funny. That's really funny.
Tied to it. You have 59,000 people that they verified that were dead, and they were continuing to get subsidies to the insurance companies. And then if you look at just the 24 million people that's on the exchanges that everyone's talking about, roughly 12 million last year did not even file one medical claim because they didn't know they had health insurance. It's not that they didn't have medical claims, simply fact the insurance companies were being subsidized, but these people were automatically enrolled and didn't know. But when we look at healthcare, what we're discussing.
So they're basically claiming that they're taking care of certain people, and those people have no clue that they're taking care of them. That's what he's trying to explain here.
Right now in Washington is how can we lower the cost of healthcare for all Americans? How can we lower the cost of premiums for all Americans? How can we create more access?
It's astonishing. It's astonishing. I am loving the fact that he built his whole legacy on this idiocy, on this stupid healthcare, and that it's being exposed for the rot and corruption and stupidity, and what an overpriced, over budget, expensive, self-destructive plan this is. After they crammed it down our throats when they had a supermajority, this to me is justice. It's God basically coming out and saying, yeah, I want people to see just what a terrible job you did. Massive Obamacare fraud was found. They found 12 million people did not file a claim because they didn't even know that they had insurance. 12 million people. 12 million. They were automatically enrolled and never notified. So the insurance companies got paid because they had all these different people. They ended up getting government financing for it. It's 12 million people who never had any claims at all, and many of whom had no idea that they had coverage. But the insurance companies still charge for the coverage because they were automatically enrolled. And then there's this report. Which is just amazing. How bad is their fraud detection? Check this out.
He thinks Minnesota's bad. Wait until you hear about Obamacare. A new study from the Government Accountability Office just exposed the program as a criminal piggy bank. The office submitted 24 fake Obamacare applications, and 23 of them were approved.
So understand what's happening here. The Government Accountability Office suspected that there's a problem with the way the Obamacare was being implemented. So they decided to test it out. And they're like, we're going to file these fake accounts, these fake requests. And they submitted 24 applications of completely fake requests. 23 of them got money. That's how easy it is to rip them off. 23 out of 24 got paid for completely fraudulent, bogus type of requests. That's how the GAO was like, there's a friggin' huge problem here. There is no effort to uncover fraud. Zero.
So they just made up a bunch of names, put in fictitious social security numbers, or for some, put in no records at all, and Obamacare sent them a check. This is exactly what Elon Musk and Doge were talking about. We wouldn't have to print so much money and run so much debt if we could just stop giving away money to thieves. He thinks Minnesota's better.
Stop giving away money to thieves. Sounds like such a foreign concept, right? Sounds like such a crazy, stupid, crazy. Like, can we do that? But can we do that? Can we do that? My final clip on this is Dr. Oz breaking this down.
The Government Accountability Office just released a shocking interim report on widespread fraud within Obamacare. Let me explain what's going on. During the pandemic, the previous administration took a variety of actions that weakened crucial safeguards. For example, they eliminated common sense income verifications, which are central to making sure people actually qualify for the program. They also expanded the number of people who got completely free health insurance via what are called $0 premium plans, which is a huge problem because if you don't pay anything for a plan, you might forget that you have it, or you may be enrolled in it by an unscrupulous insurance broker without your knowledge. To date, we've received complaints from hundreds of thousands of Americans who didn't know they were enrolled in an Obamacare plan until they got paperwork from the IRS related to their tax credits. So why was this allowed to happen? Because the past administration prioritized achieving big program enrollment numbers over protecting program integrity. The problem here is that you, the American taxpayer, are footing the bill for all of this fraud in the form of tax subsidies. Under President Trump and Secretary Kennedy, we are not sitting idly by. We've uncovered 4.4 million improper enrollments, including roughly 1.6 million individuals who were enrolled in both Medicaid and an Obamacare plan in 2024, which taxpayers, by the way, are footing the bill in both of these cases. You get double insurance. You're not paying for either. We've already started cleaning up the system by removing about 1 million people from Obamacare who are or should be covered somewhere else. This alone is going to save taxpayers billions in waste. In fact, the very first rule we announced in this administration was our marketplace integrity and affordability rule, which would have, and I'm listing it out, enforced common sense income verification checks, made sure people who were enrolled knew they were enrolled, and blocked illegal immigrants from accessing taxpayer-funded care. But here's the bonus of it all. Our rule would have lowered premiums across the board for Americans by an average of 5%. That's a lot of money. Now, we're on track, doing fine, until blue cities brought a politically motivated lawsuit against us, tying up this important rule in litigation. I want to applaud Congress for at least giving us some additional tools through the Working Families Tax Cut legislation that will enable us to bolster verification.
I don't know where his role is coming in here, Dr. Oz, because last I saw he was getting beaten out by Fetterman. But
future years. Meanwhile, we're continuing to
and frankly, Fetterman ended up being like the best Democrat there is.
Fight every day to clean up the Obamacare problems. And as this report rightly points out, there's still a lot of work to be done.
All right. I mean, it's hard for me to get behind something that says you got to, like, yeah, they want to force me to pay $5 a month and I should be happy about that. I have a hard time understanding. I understand that people are paying for it. They're going to know about it, but, and $5 a month, let's face it, $60 a year is probably a subscription to some site that I have that I don't even remember having. But in principle, it's a little bit of a strange notion that the $5 a month I'm going to remember if I can't remember some subscription I have to Ground News or something. So I'm going to remember now that I have healthcare. I don't know. I have healthcare coverage. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, lowering our cost by 5%. That's certainly something I can get behind. Mita with a long E saying, now that's a goal I can get behind. Ranting Judge Joe. I probably would be ranting. All right. Fine. Nana Knows is supporting it. Mita come back with another $10. Fine. I'll apply to be a judge. Let's do it. I might have to close out my screen when I get to personal knowledge, but let's do it. This is the website that they want me to sign up to become a judge. I said I would do it. Let's do it. Okay. You be the judge. $159,000, $207,000 per year. All right. That's something. I'll definitely notice that. 25% base recruitment incentive for first-time federal employees placed at the following locations: New York, San Francisco. So give me an extra 25% if I actually go into New York. 25 of base pay recruitment incentive for people if I go into New York. What's the cost of me going into New York? Because 25% of 150,000, 160,000 is basically saying you're going to bump me up to 200,000. Well, I don't know why they're saying what this is. Maybe this is based on how many years experience you have as to what they're going to pay. But basically, they're saying they'll give me 200,000 if I go in. What would it cost me per year to go in? My question is, am I applying for an in-person posting in New York, or do I want to apply for a remote posting? That's the question. Let's see what they're going to look for both of them before we decide that. We're going to use that to decide. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, we're a month away from 3 years. I'm going to give you the horn just for that, Emerald. All right. Okay, here we go. Let's see what they're looking for from me. Let's see. This is the first one I looked at was for in-job posting, right? Is that what I did? Right, this is one. Full-time into. Hold on a second. All right. Let's make this bigger here. Because honestly, I'd rather work from the comfort of, if you can work without pants. You have a choice of working with pants or without pants. You always choose the without pants, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. So this one is the in-person one. Work schedule and cutoff dates have been updated. Applicants who apply for this ad on or after 11/25/2021 may choose to work a full-time or intermittent work schedule. Intermittent work schedules may be switched at any time to part-time work schedule based on agency discretion. See additional information box for additional information. This sounds like it's getting complicated already. Conversion to permanent position is contingent upon satisfactory completion of a probationary period and appointment by the Attorney General. Open to the public. Clarification from the agency. Okay. Recruiting incentives up to 25% of base pay will be considered for first-time federal employees, which I would be. Place the following locations: New York, Broadway Immigration Court. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Or New York Fed Plaza, or New York Varick Immigration Court. I don't know where that is. Service can be required for these candidates who are found to be eligible for a specified amount of time as directed by the agency. Position is for the Executive Office for Immigration Review, Office of the Chief Immigration Judge. I like that. I like the sound of that. That's a nice sounding title. EOIR seeks highly qualified individuals to join our team of expert professionals who serve as immigration adjudicators, immigration judges, work with a team that includes attorneys, legal assessments, and other support staff. Okay. EOIR. plays a pivotal role in the administration of nation's immigration. Okay, ER consists of 3 adjudicatory components. The Office of Chief of Immigration, which is responsible for managing the numerous immigration courts located throughout the United States. Okay. Immigration judges adjudicate individual cases. The Board of Immigration Appeals, which primarily conducts appellate reviews of the immigration judge's decisions, and the Office of Chief Administrative Hearing Officer, which adjudicates immigration-related employment cases. Okay. Immigration judges preside over formal quasi-judicial hearings. Proceedings before immigration judges include, but not limited to, removal and bond adjudications. This is what I think I want to do. I want to be able to say, afuera! I want to have that on my door. Afuera! Involve issues of removability, as well as applications for relief such as asylum, withholding removal protection under the Convention Against Torture, cancellation of removal. By the way, in case you're wondering, it was Liz and Mita and Nana Knows who basically convinced me that even though we didn't have 15 of them, that was a dedicated effort to have me go through this right now. Immigration judges make decisions that are final, subject to appeal. The Board of Immigration Appeals. Okay, requirements. You must be a U.S. citizen or national. I'm good there. Employment is contingent upon the completion of satisfactory adjudication of background investigation. Security clearance may be required. I think I'll be good there too. Selective service registration is required as applicable. That could be a problem. Moving and relocation expenses are not authorized. I won't need to move. Relevant experience, see qualifications below. Qualifications must be met by the closing date announcement. You must file a financial disclosure statement in accordance with the Ethics of Government Act of 1978. Financial disclosure statement in accordance with the ethics. So I'm okay. This is what I'm going to need a financial disclosure statement. I don't want to hear about my clacky. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So they want my financial disclosure statement, which I don't have. I would have to create that. All right, we're going to come back to that. I opened the link up on that. I assume it's a federal thing, not state, right? It's got to be a federal, because I see something from nj.gov, which I don't think that's what I'm looking for. I think I really want federal. All right, let's assume that should be fine. I don't think I have a problem filing that. Oh, thank you, Emmerlock. That's very thoughtful of you. All federal employees are required to have federal salary payments made by direct deposit financial institutions of their choosing. Okay. Full-time employment conversion to permanent position is contingent upon satisfactory completion of probationary period. Qualifications. Okay, what do I need? In order to qualify, applicants must possess LLB, JD, or LLM. I have a JD. Provide the month and year in which you obtained your degree and the name of the college or university from which it was conferred awarded. Okay. And licensure applicants must be active member of the bar, duly licensed and authorized to practice law. Got that. We're good there. And experienced applicants must possess qualifying post-licensure litigation or adjudication experience. Qualifying trial experience includes experience litigating cases in which a complaint was filed with a court or administrative agency or charging document was issued by a court, administrative entity, grand jury, or appropriate military authority. Okay. I think I'm good there. I think that should be fine. Qualifying experience only calculated only after bar admission. Please be clear and specific. We may not make assumptions regarding your experience. If your resume does not support your assessment questionnaire answers, I'm going to need to have a resume. That's something else I'm going to need to do. All of a sudden, they just say, wait, you need to have a resume. I do? Damn it. Can't remember the last time I made a resume. I'm working for myself for so long. Doesn't support your assessment. Your questionnaire answers will not allow credit for your responses. Ensure your resume contains your full name, address, phone number, email address, and employment information. Each position listed on your resume must include dates of employment. Okay. Agency, employer, fine. Okay. So definitely going to need to have a resume. That's one thing that they're saying I'm going to definitely need here. So resume. Okay. It's not going to be completed today because I'm going to need to create a resume. That's definitely one of the things that they're making clear. Please note, applicants who applied to this vacancy announcement before will not be required to work in intermittent part. Okay. Additional positions may be filled from this announcement within 90 days of certificate insurance. In addition to the minimum qualifications above, applicants must submit a writing sample not to exceed 10 pages, demonstrating the ability to author legal documents and a document addressing the quality ranking factors in order to be considered for this position. Okay. What are the quality ranking factors? Failure to submit these documents will result in the application package being removed from consideration. Demonstrating their ability to author legal documents and a document addressing the quality ranking factors. Oh, so this is the ranking factors that they have above. Failure to submit these documents will result in your application package being removed from consideration. There's no formal rating system applying veterans' preference to IJ appointments in the accepted service. However, the DOJ considers veterans' preference eligibility as a positive factor in IJ hiring. No, seriously, what do they mean by the quality ranking factors here? Because I'm not sure. Let me say this here. Ability to author legal documents. I can give you a 10-page document. That's not a problem. But only U.S. citizens or nationals are eligible. Dual citizens, U.S. will be considered on a case-by-case basis. All DOJ applicants, both U.S. citizens and non-citizens whose job locations within the U.S. must meet the residency requirement. That's not a problem. For a total of 3 consecutive years of 5 years, reside in the U.S. This is all not a problem. Once your USA jobs, once you submit to USA jobs, you will not be able to make any changes, edits, or updates. Okay. How will you meet the qualifications above? Oh, here we go with the quality ranking factors. I was wondering what the heck was wrong with me. Must meet the minimum qualifications to be further evaluated. Ability to demonstrate appropriate temperament to serve as a judge. So I have to submit knowledge of immigration law and procedure. Litigation or adjudication experience, preferably in a high volume judicial or administrative context. Experience handling complex legal issues. Experience conducting administrative hearings or adjudicating administrative cases. So I haven't conducted any administrative hearings or adjudicated administrative cases. That I have not done. A response stating only the applicant does not have experience will not be considered as addressing the affected QRF. What? So wait a minute, does this mean that if I don't qualify as number 5, or adjudicating? Applicants that do not have experience within a specific factor should instead discuss a similar skill, ability, knowledge, experience for evaluation. So in lieu of number 5, I have to come up with something that has, so I have to have something for all 5. So ability to demonstrate the appropriate temperament to serve as a judge. Oh, I actually do have something. I do have something. Which might actually help with both respect to number 1 and number 5. So number 1, I served on a planning board for a couple of years for my city, which is kind of like sitting as a judge. That's administrative. It's probably an administrative hearing. That likely would qualify as an administrative hearing. If it's not, it's certainly comparable. Because people would come in and they would make requests that they want to change the designation of their lot from being 2-family to 3-family. And they would submit their application, and the lawyer would come up and submit their application, and I sat on a panel which would decide whether or not to approve those. So that would actually, I think that's part of conducting, and we would question them if we had questions about their application. So I do think that actually would qualify. A planning board time would help. Let's go back and figure out when that was. I don't remember when that was. It was a long time ago. It was shortly after I moved here. Litigation and adjudication experience, preferably in a high volume judicial or administrative context. So that should be okay. How will I display my knowledge of immigration laws and procedures? Should I reference my culture war battle with Pisco, who were arguing about Kilmar Brago? Well, you think that works? You think that works? I don't know if that's going to work. My knowledge of immigration law. Okay. Even got up to answering questions. They want me to make a submission, which so far what I'm seeing I'm going to have to submit is a financial disclosure, compliant with government ethics, a resume, and 2 writing samples. One writing sample plus a QRF. $11:59 p.m. on 4/9/2026. So I need my resume. Cover letter is optional. A complete online assessment questionnaire. That's what you guys want to see me taking, right? Documents addressed for qualifying on the QRFs. A writing sample. Current or former federal employees must, I don't know that, other supporting documents if applicable, which I don't think they are. Click on apply online to create a USA Jobs account or log into your existing account. Nope. So what do they have here? Let's see what they're asking me. Do you have a veteran's preference? No. Select the location you want to be considered. You must choose at least one location. You may select up to 3 locations. So I go with the New York locations. Okay, that's easy. Is this it? Select the appropriate answer to the following questions based on your current level of experience. Yes, I possess a JD. Provide a month and year. That's fine. Are you an active member of the bar? Yes. Duly licensed, authorized? Yes. Provide the amount, the month and year which you obtained your first license and the state from which it was issued. Okay. I have to check what month it was. It was a 99, but I'm not to check what month it was. Do you possess the qualifying post-licensure litigation adjudication experience? Yes. That's it? That's it? So basically what they're saying I need to do, in case you're wondering, is I need to create a resume. I also need, because I don't have a current resume. I don't think I've had a resume in 20 years. I need to create a resume. I need to complete that QRF element, and I need to there's one other thing I had to do. Wait, let's go back. What did I have to do here? Okay, so definitely gonna need a resume. The assessment questionnaire, that's easy. Document assessing quality ranking factors and a writing sample. That's all I need. Okay. This should not be that hard. This should not be that hard. My biggest concern is my relatively my relatively thin resume with respect to immigration law, which I think is kind of funny. The idea of trying to become an immigration judge. Let's see if it's any different when I go to the remote one. Education, licensure, experience. This looks very similar. What are my benefits? Okay. To do this properly, I'll tell you what I should do. To do this properly, I should actually take a course in immigration. That's what I should do. That's what I should do. I should take a course in immigration law. That's what I should do. That's the next step. To really do this properly. If I'm really going to do this, which I should take a course in immigration. Oh yeah, totally going to use the ungag Trump. Totally going to use that. Last day, not was, is. Not was, is. April 2026 is 4 months from now. Okay. Yeah. I think I want to do this, though. I'm feeling like I want to do this. I'm feeling like I want to do this. Okay. I just might. Jody. I can't send a video of my show. They're not going to want that. They're not going to want that. Lickety split. Lickety split. Okay. What do we got? American Immigration Lawyers Association over deep dives like fundamentals for new attorneys, specialized waiver courses, and cutting edge AI and law training. Virginia Messina. I need broad fundamentals. All right, let's check out ALO. I gotta take this online. The hell is that? Wisconsin? I don't want Wisconsin. This is federal law. Why would we want Wisconsin? What the heck is that? I feel they're gonna be expensive. Let's see what they want from me. Immigration. I actually have a friend who's been an immigration lawyer for a very long time, for like 40 years. That's what I should do. I should bring him on here. He's the nicest guy in the world, like crazy nice, like insanely nice. Getting deported with Good Lawgic, aka Joe. Five hours and 52 minutes. This is what I had in mind. 300. See, I knew it was going to be something like this. I knew it was going to be like $400. The hell? I knew it. Damn it! Damn it! I knew they were going to charge me a lot of money. I was like, yeah, this is totally going to be something stupidly expensive. Ugh. I really do need to know about immigration law. Yeah. Who's handsome? New member also. Welcome back, brother. $400. You guys cost me money. All right. What I need to do is I definitely need to take a course in immigration law because I need to know what the hell I'm talking about. I have to assume that I'll if I get a phone call, they're gonna be asking me questions. I'm gonna need to know stuff about immigration law, and if I don't know if I don't know my nose from my elbow, which I know that's how the phrase goes. That's probably not going to go well. So I need to expect that they're going to ask me questions about immigration law that I'll be able to answer at the ready. That's what I have to do. I want to be a judge fund. I want to be a judge. Yeah. Okay, that's the next step. The next step is I actually have to take a course in immigration law because I've never practiced immigration law. I've done commercial litigation my whole life. So for me to just start claiming proficiency, and I can understand why that would be an essential element on the QRF form, not something they're going to let you fudge. Well, I understand a lot about novation and third-party beneficiaries. Like, what the hell does that have to do with immigration law? I don't think that's going to work. It's not going to work. Ask me about New York civil procedure. I'm really good. I'm really good at New York civil procedure. That's not going to work. All right. Okay. So now we have an agenda. Now we have a game plan. The game plan is I need to find a good course, which will be able to teach me immigration law soup to nuts and have me be really rock solid in it. And then we become a judge. There you go. I had to take a test on a long time, but I think that this is worthwhile. This is something I need to be doing. This is worthwhile. All right. Well, if that happens, then I figure out what to rename the show if I become a judge. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. All right. I'm going to land my plane. Andrew's here? Is Andrew here? See someone saying, I saw this. All right. While you're here, if you could hit the like and subscribe, I would be most obliged to you. I appreciate that. I don't see Andrew here, but yeah, I do think that becoming a judge can actually be helping the world, helping my country. That'd be awesome. Sitting in the gate with Joe? I don't know what that means. If you can't dazzle with brilliance, baffle them with BS. There you go. There you go. Frank, it doesn't have a class on it. He doesn't, but there you go. That's my general philosophy. No, you can't stay. No, I'm sorry. All right. I'm landing my plane here. I thank you all. At least I have a game plan now. First game plan is by the end of the year to really know immigration law. That's really what it is. My game plan is I'm giving myself 2.5 weeks. I guess it's technically 3 weeks to learn immigration law and really be able to land it rock solid. Also, I want to have this application submitted by the end of the year. So that means resume, learning immigration law, and getting that. And then I need a QRF, a writing sample, and the ethics thing. This is a piece of cake. This is nothing. All right. Let's go become an immigration judge. Let's do it. That's my job now. Your job is to make sure that you do not touch that lab meat. It's never been made for you. It's meant for they, them. It's not meant for you. Don't touch it. And also, do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Did I miss anything over here? Did I miss anything in the ghetto? I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Timothy Tinkliff says contribution from a member of the Rumble Ghetto in support of application by a judge regarding position of immigration judge. A successful applicant will be required to not wear pants at all times. Judge Joe can be the first judge to get caught sneaking ice into his back door. Okay, I don't like the way you worded that. I don't like the way you worded that at all. Okay, I just don't. Nothing about. What the hell is that? You have to close the channel to work for the federal government. I don't think that's true. Do you have to be a lawyer? I'll take 200K to say no all day. Yeah, I really don't like the way you worded that, Pinochet. Judge Joe can be the first judge to get caught sneaking ice into his back door. That's just not cool. That's not cool at all. Especially when people are talking about a job where you don't have to wear pants. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to tell you guys was the jokes write themselves. The jokes write themselves. Do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. I'm Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. God willing, I'll see you all back tomorrow evening. Until then, good night and Godspeed.